All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yes. Hello?
So today, we are diving into The Ultimate Guide to Massive Arms.pdf by Charles Staley.
Oh, massive arms. Okay.
Now, before anyone switches off thinking
Yeah.
this is only applicable to,
Right.
the meatheads out there who want to get
want to get huge guns.
those huge biceps and triceps, just stick with us for a little bit because I
Yeah.
think the core principles
Of
that
the
we're going to
book.
cover today from
Yeah.
this book
Mhm.
really do apply to pretty much any training goal that you might have.
Yeah.
So it's not all about
It's about training in general, yeah.
just big arms. It's about effective training.
Yes, it's about
And the principles that are going to get you to whatever goals that you might have.
Mhm.
So
It's good stuff.
yeah, let's get into it.
All right.
But before we start, like always, standard disclaimer.
Yeah.
Staley, he mentions right at the beginning that some of this stuff could potentially lead to injury. So,
Gotta be careful.
as always, consult your doctor
Yeah, check with your
to
doctor.
make sure you're doing things the right way and all
Yeah.
that jazz.
Yep.
But one thing that struck me, and I think this is what probably strikes most people
Absolutely.
right at the beginning of the book, are the testimonials,
Yes, the testimonials are amazing.
where people are seeing some pretty
Oh, they're incredible.
remarkable results
Yeah.
in a pretty short amount of time.
Yes, like stunning results in a short time.
Using the escalating density training system, or EDT,
Yeah, EDT? Yeah.
which we're going to dive deep on in just a little bit.
Yeah, ZT, yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to give you a couple examples,
Yeah, give us some examples.
Chris Merrow, he gained 3/8 of an inch on his arms in less than 3 weeks
Wow, that's amazing.
without any direct arm work, which I think
That's incredible, yeah.
is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, without even training arms directly.
Yeah, and then
That's wild.
you've got Anthony Ball
Yeah.
and some of his training partners,
Wow.
and they saw gains of up to a full inch
In 4 weeks.
in 4 weeks.
Wow.
And
That's serious growth.
one of these guys was even dieting
Yeah, that's even more impressive, right?
while he was doing that. So,
Yeah.
and then there was one guy
More.
who put almost an inch
In 6 weeks.
on his arms in just 6 weeks.
Wow.
So,
That's significant.
these are not insignificant numbers.
No, absolutely
These are pretty significant changes.
Yeah, that's noticeable. You can see that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
I think that kind of sets the stage.
Matches the stage.
What we're looking at here.
Yeah, what are we going to be looking at today?
So our mission for this deep dive, if you choose to accept it, which you already have,
You've already accepted it by tuning in?
by tuning in,
That's right.
is to understand the core principles
Yes.
of successful training
Absolutely. The foundation.
that Staley outlines in this
the core principles, yeah.
in this book,
Mhm.
particularly focusing on the EDT system,
Yeah, EDT. Yeah.
the behavioral aspects.
Yes, the mindset, the behaviors.
Yeah, he really emphasizes.
Absolutely, because it's not just about the program.
Yeah.
It's about the person executing the program.
Yes. So we'll
And
be
by breaking all that down.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Right.
Okay, so Staley starts out by
Yeah.
really kind of laying down the foundation
Bedrock, yeah.
of
That's about it.
his approach, which
That's-
are several key principles that he says guide any effective training program.
Yes, regardless of the exercises.
Regardless,
as well as, like,
yeah.
what particular exercises you might be doing.
Exactly.
So it's more about the why
the why, exactly.
behind the training, not just the what, the why.
Rather than the what.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he starts out with the principle of progressive overload,
Okay, progressive overload, yes.
which he playfully calls the geek speak
Yeah, the sciencey stuff.
version of the definition.
Yeah.
In order to provoke an adaptational response, the organism must be subjected to stressors of
Yeah.
ever-increasing magnitude,
All right, that's a mouthful.
which,
yeah.
In regular
Sure.
gym speak, kind of echoes the idea of no pain, no gain.
Yeah, no pain, no gain.
But there's a
Right, but there's a nuance.
very important distinction
Yeah.
that Staley makes.
The big one.
It's not just about pushing yourself hard every time you train.
It's not just about suffering.
It's about
It's like consistently increasing the demand
increasing the demands that you're placing on your body
over time. Yeah,
over time.
exactly. Consistently increasing the demand.
So,
Not just every workout has to be max effort.
right.
It's about a long-term strategy.
So he gives
Okay.
some good
Give us some examples.
concrete examples
Yeah.
of ways that you can
So how do we do that?
progressively challenge yourself.
Yeah.
You can increase the intensity.
Increase the intensity, which usually means
lifting heavier weight.
lifting heavier. Yeah.
But it can also
mean
involve moving the same weight
moving the same weight faster.
with more speed
Yes, more explosively.
and in power.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can also
Okay,
increase the total
You can increase the total volume.
amount of work.
Yeah, the total work.
You do in a given time.
You like more sets, more reps.
Right, more sets, more reps.
Yeah.
And finally, you can aim to do the
You could do the same work in less time.
same amount of work in a shorter period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat.
Yeah. So while no pain, no gain, kind of. Yeah.
Capture that.
captures the intensity.
The intensity aspect of it.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
real
The nuance.
nuance here is the
systematic
Yes.
increase.
the planned increase over time.
over time.
Yeah, that's the key.
So think not just about
Yeah.
lifting heavier next week, but
Yeah.
but having a
Have a plan.
plan
Yeah.
for how you're going to incrementally.
Exactly. Like over the next month, 2 months, 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
how are you going to progressively overload
The load,
the volume,
the volume, the density,
right, the density
Yeah.
over the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks,
So exactly, yeah, have a plan.
whatever it might be.
And that requires tracking, right?
And this
You can't just show up and do stuff.
this requires tracking your workouts, right?
You got to track, yeah.
You can't just show up
Show up and
Yeah.
just
and see what happens.
just harder.
You got to have a plan.
Yeah. Randomly, you got to be
You got to know where you've been.
systematic about it.
Yeah, and where you're going.
Exactly. What's interesting here is
Yeah.
this principle isn't just about
It's not just about building muscle.
building bigger muscle.
It's about any adaptation.
If your goal is to run a faster marathon,
Yes, any fitness goal. Or to increase your cardiovascular endurance.
improve your endurance,
Or improve any aspect of your fitness.
your overall fitness, you need to progressively challenge yourself.
You need to progressively challenge your body.
Yeah, it's a universal law of adaptation.
It's a
Like gravity, it applies to everything.
universal law of adaptation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a good one.
very, very important.
Very important.
Okay.
All right.
The next one
What's next?
is the principle of reversibility,
Okay, reversibility.
which Staley
Yeah.
gives the geek speak definition as.
Okay, hit me with it. When the environmental challenge is discontinued, the organism responds by discontinuing its adaptational response.
So basically, if you stop doing it, your body stops adapting.
Right.
Which
It's jump speak.
In regular terms.
It is.
Yeah.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah, use it or lose it.
Which is,
That's the one.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
very true.
Oh, yeah, it's the truth.
So if you stop training,
Yeah.
your body's going to
Your body's going to go back to
gradually revert back
its
and-
previous untrained state.
Exactly. It wants to be efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Staley does touch on this idea of
Yeah.
muscle memory,
Muscle memory, yeah.
which a lot of people in the
A lot of people talk about that.
fitness world talk about.
Yeah.
The idea that
Easier to
Yeah.
regain lost fitness
you can regain fitness faster than you built it the first time.
than to build it from scratch.
Yeah, muscle memory.
And he acknowledges that there might be something to it. There might be some physiological basis for this, some truth to it. But
He rightly points out that
Yeah.
relying on this as a
Yeah.
training strategy
we don't rely on it.
is not ideal.
Not the best approach.
Consistent training
Consistency is key.
throughout the year
Yeah, train consistently throughout the year.
is far more effective
That's the way to go.
in the long run.
Yeah.
Even if it tends
intensity changes.
you have the specific focus of your training
Or the focus changes a little bit. Yeah.
changes throughout the year. Maintaining
some level of consistency.
some level of
Some
consistency.
physical activity
Yeah, keep moving.
is key.
Yeah, exactly.
Staley Gary even suggests
Yeah.
thinking about your workouts.
Think about your workouts like important meetings.
Yeah.
Important meetings.
Or appointments that you can't miss. Yeah, appointments.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
You wouldn't just,
You wouldn't skip a meeting. So
Gotcha.
don't skip your workouts.
to really
Yeah.
ingrain that
Ingrain that consistency.
consistency.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, what else we got?
We have the principle of variability.
Variability. Yeah.
And keep things fresh.
The geek speak for this.
Yeah, hit me with the sciencey definition.
One is a bit of a mouthful.
All right.
It's
Okay.
over time, monotonous stimuli tend to result in ever smaller disruptions to homeostasis as the organism learns.
Your body gets used to it.
To cope with already familiar stressors.
It adapts, it figures it out. So in simpler terms.
Yeah, simpler terms, what does that mean?
If you keep
doing the same thing over and over.
Okay. The exact same workouts.
Yeah. Same exercises, same sets, same reps.
With the same.
Your body's going to get efficient at it.
Sets and reps.
Yeah. And it's going to stop adapting.
Week after week.
It's not going to be a challenge anymore.
Your body becomes very efficient.
It's too efficient.
At those specific tasks.
Yeah.
And they become less.
It's not a stimulus anymore.
And less effective.
It's just what you did.
At driving further adaptation.
Exactly. You hit that plateau.
And hence the gym speak. Dude, you've hit a plateau.
Yeah. You got to shock your body, man.
You need to change up your routine to shock your body into new growth.
Exactly. Got to keep things fresh.
Now, Staley emphasizes a
really critical
balance here, while variability
is important.
Is essential to prevent plateaus.
To keep things moving. Yeah. And also
to avoid injuries.
Well, yeah.
Reduce the risk of
overuse injuries.
Yeah. You also need a degree of...
You need some specificity.
In your training, which we'll get into.
We'll talk about that in a second.
In just a second.
Yeah.
He actually mentions Dr. Sal Arya.
Yeah.
Who...
What does Dr. Arya say?
Warns about how long-term unchanging routines...
Yeah, like doing the same thing for too long...
Can potentially lead to...
Can lead to problems,
Degenerative changes.
Like wear and tear on the joints. Yeah, overuse injuries.
Yeah. So, there's a balance.
There's a balance, yeah.
Yeah, and this is where...
EDT comes in.
EDT.
Yeah.
Escalating density training.
Yeah, escalating density training, that's right.
Really shines, according to Staley.
Because it builds in variability.
It inherently builds in variability.
Exactly. It's not just random. It's part of the program.
In each workout.
Yeah, so what happens... Your
primary goal is to
try to do more reps.
More total repetitions than you did... in the previous...
you did last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the same weight.
With the same...
And the same exercises.
Weight and exercises.
Yeah, so you're increasing volume, you're increasing density. Within
a set time frame.
Yeah, exactly. In a set time frame. So you're always trying to do more in that time frame than you did last time. Volume and
density. Exactly. And then once you've significantly improved...
And then you've gotten really good at that.
Your performance.
Yeah.
With a certain weight.
The given weight.
Then you increase the weight.
Which boosts...
Which increases the intensity. Yeah, that's right. And then
eventually, if you can't make progress with those exercises...
And you can no longer...
You change them up.
How to make progress.
Yeah, you switch it out.
With those exercises.
Exactly. So the variation's built in. It's not just random. It's part of the progression.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's smart.
The variation isn't...
It's a system. It's not just random.
It's just random.
Yeah, it's built into
the structure of how...
Of how you progress in EDT.
Yeah.
Within the EDT.
Yeah, that's cool.
Framework.
It is. All right, what's next?
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so specificity.
Let's talk about the principle of specificity.
Okay, specificity.
Also known as the SAID principle.
SAIDR, what's that stand for?
Which stands for Specific Adaptation to Imposed Demands.
Okay, specific adaptation to imposed demands. So your body adapts to what you do to it, basically.
Yeah, the geek speak definition is...
Okay, science-y definition.
Yeah.
The body's adaptation to training is very specific to the type of training stimulus.
Okay, so if you want to get better at something, you got to do that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get better at bench press more.
Gym speak.
Yeah, basically.
is pretty direct. Just pretty straightforward. If you want to get better at bench pressing and build a bigger chest, you need to bench press, do more bench pressing.
You got to do it. Essentially, your body is going to adapt very specifically to the
demands you place on it.
Types of demands you consistently place on it.
It does. So Staley talks about loading parameters.
Elaborates on this by talking about...
What are loading parameters?
Loading parameters.
Yes. So that's like the weight you lift, the reps you do.
Yeah. The amount of weight you lift.
Yeah.
The number of repetitions you perform.
So that's the tempo, all that stuff.
And the speed at which you move the weight.
Exactly. That's all loading parameters.
Okay, he explains how
these parameters.
These need to be specific.
To motor qualities you're trying to develop.
The motor qualities.
Motor quality. All right. So what are some examples of that?
trying to develop.
Yeah, give us some examples.
And he briefly defines a few key qualities, like absolute strength.
Okay, absolute strength. What's that?
It is your maximum force output.
Force output.
Regardless of speed.
Regardless of the speed of movement.
So just how much weight can you move?
Okay.
And then there's
speed strength.
Speed strength.
Which is that's how fast you can move it.
Ability to generate force rapidly.
Yeah, explosiveness.
It's really, and that's important for those fast twitch muscle fibers.
For those fast twitch muscle fibers.
The ones that grow.
And also for...
Yeah, and also counteracting age-related decline.
Age-related declines.
Yeah, so that's a big one. And yeah, as we get older, we lose that fast twitch fiber, so...
Yeah.
We want to train that.
Okay, good. Hypertrophy.
And then hypertrophy, that's the one everybody wants.
Which, as you know...
That's muscle growth, right?
Yeah, making the muscles bigger.
Enlargement.
Yep.
And Staley makes the point.
Okay. So he's saying developing strength.
A base of strength.
Of absolute strength.
Absolute strength is a good foundation for hypertrophy.
Okay. Actually form a really good foundation. Yeah, because you need to be able to generate force.
Hypertrophy.
To stimulate those muscle fibers to grow.
Because
especially those fast twitch fibers.
Often need to be able to generate significant force.
You got to lift heavy to grow big.
Okay, well, basically stimulate those.
You got to
challenge those muscles.
Fast twitch fibers.
Yeah. So for arm training, it's not just about lifting light weights fast. Yeah, it's about that intent.
Arm training. This isn't just about...
To move the weight explosively.
Lifting light weights fast.
Yeah, even if the weight's not super heavy.
They got to move it.
That fast.
Yeah, that intent, that's important. Move the weight. Move the weight explosively on the concentric, on the lifting part.
On the concentric phase of...
like when you're curling the weight up.
Or extending it on a triceps extension.
Yeah, triceps extensions.
You want to try to move it fast.
Even if
it's not moving super fast.
The actual speed isn't lightning fast.
Yeah, it's that intent.
Yeah.
That's what recruits those high threshold motor units.
Intent is what's really going to...
Which are the ones we want to grow.
Recruit those high threshold motor units.
Those are the big, strong ones.
Which are the ones that are vital.
For growth and strength.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So what's really EDT...
Interesting is that Staley...
Because the EDT emphasizes that.
Is designed to develop multiple qualities at once.
It's designed to develop multiple...
So strength, speed strength, hypertrophy, even endurance, all in one workout.
So strength, speed strength, hypertrophy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Even local muscular endurance.
All using the same parameters.
All using the same basic.
Yeah.
Training parameters.
So you're not doing... like a million different workouts. You're just doing one workout.
When it works out.
But getting multiple benefits.
That's cool. That's a pretty efficient approach to training.
I like that. Okay.
All right. Finally, we arrive at...
Okay, last one.